All right, everybody, and welcome back to Progressives Abroad. This is our second episode. It's been over a little more than a week than our last episode. For me, it's been above average hectic week, so it's probably not the ideal time to start a podcast, but it must be done. Now is the time that the primaries about to take off, so just wanted to try and squeeze in another episode before come up with the Iowa caucuses coming up here next week. So after our first episode launched, we did have quite a response. Some really great people reaching out to us, sharing information about what's happening where they are in the world. Some really great contacts have been shared, particularly for possible interviews and organizations we should hook up with as we're trying to grow this platform bigger. And general just comments from listeners talking about where we should take this platform in the future. So please keep these amazing and helpful messages coming. We just need to get our network. We need to grow as much as we possibly can. This is about getting everybody together, kind of networked around the world, so we can push out this information about our different experiences and how they relate to progressive politics and how they can be shared back in our home countries. So it goes without saying, please subscribe wherever you are and wherever you're listening. Share this with whoever you can. Teamwork makes the dream work. With that being said, we've also run into quite a few people who don't like the word progressive. Apparently, they don't sound like they're listening to the podcast, but are simply triggered by the word progressive. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Just to be clear, this show happily welcomes criticism and differences in opinion, and I'm happy to have all kinds of people on this show, not just those where we always see eye to eye on everything. This is how we humans learn. This is how we grow. So if you're listening and you don't like what I'm saying, let's make it work. Let us not deprive ourselves from the constructive discussion we could be having. Let us not deprive ourselves from the learning and the growth that can come from meeting at the crossroads of our own knowledge and experiences. Moral of the story: if all you like to do is lodge nonsense, you're wasting your time. We do not have time for that. I don't have time for that. I don't think a lot of the people here listening have time for that. We're here at Progressives Abroad to relate, to investigate, and hopefully to educate. Moving on, I want to get up to a couple of really important topics that are just bare bones basics to get this podcast started off. Primary season is just about to tee off. Iowa caucuses are coming up next week. Luckily, it's just one right now. Of course, it's a big, important one, but it's just one right now. So this still gives us a lot of time to get the essentials together. What am I talking about? I'm mainly talking about voting abroad. How do we vote abroad? And later on, also talk about a bit more about how to get involved, maybe back home. So when it comes to voting abroad, the primaries are upon us. There is no more time to procrastinate. So what we need to do, what I need you to do right now, is I need you to make sure you are registered to vote. I don't care what you're doing right now. If you're at work, if you're listening to this podcast and you can't do two things at once, like a lot of us, put it on pause and go find out if you are registered to vote back in wherever your permanent address is. If you don't know how to do that, I'm going to tell you about how to do that in the next few minutes. So if you are registered to vote right now, then I need you to go request a ballot. This is insanely important and something that I think I myself have done in the past, and many of us can relate to. Procrastinate on this, forget about it, all kinds of stuff. So stop whatever you're doing right now. It literally takes 5 minutes to do this. Go make sure you're registered and make sure you got a ballot coming your way, preferably by email. So if you don't know how to do this, let's talk about it a little bit. Now, no matter where you're in the world, you need to get out and vote for the primaries. Voting in person, of course, is the best, and for me, if I'm back at home, I always take the opportunity to hand in my ballot, observe what's going on in the ballot polling station. But of course, for many of us listening, this is not possible. So first of all, how do we make sure we are registered to vote? So you can easily do this by checking with your board of elections, wherever your permanent address is. But it's even easier just to go online. So there's many websites you can go to. I just visited myself, just to kind of go through the process. I've done it a few times. I just visited votefromabroad.org. It was super easy. You can fill out a questionnaire, and within 5 minutes, they're going to determine, if you are registered to vote and also how to get your ballot. So it takes literally 5 minutes. I highly recommend this. Votefromabroad.org. They'll get you all signed up in 5 minutes, have you sign and everything, digital signature. And then you can make sure that your ballot is on the way. Now, it's highly recommended to have your ballot emailed to you, and actually to mail this via email, this request, and then to have the ballot emailed to you back. It's just the quickest way to do things nowadays. I think it goes without saying, we all know how snail mail works, especially in the international setting. So especially if you're a procrastinator like me, do the email, get it done right now. No excuses. We got to make sure we are registered and we got our ballot coming. So there's other options available to you. You can go on the FVAP, the FAP website, FVAP. That's F as in Florida, V as in Virginia, A as in Arizona, P as in Pennsylvania.gov. Go to their website. This is for the Federal Voting Assistance Program. This is a federal program that assists specifically overseas voters, both people in the military and otherwise. And they can help you out not just with getting a ballot, but also if you need to register a vote. And also they have an interesting section about if you're a citizen who has never lived in the United States. So this could be particularly helpful if you yourself are a citizen that has never lived in the United States. I know a few people like that. Maybe your parents were American citizens, or one of your parents was an American citizen and you've never actually lived in the United States yourself. Or perhaps you have adult children that are of voting age, who you might be from the States, and they have citizenship, but they've never themselves lived in the States. So you can also help them get registered to vote. This is super important, super duper important. So anyways, just a friendly reminder, get registered, request your ballot. If you have one to fill out, send it in. Maybe you have one that's sitting with all of your other bills and mails right now. So get that in the mail, get it in the email, send it over. Do it as early as you possibly can, because I know how procrastination goes and we cannot let this primary go under the water. Speaking of primaries, just a little bit of an update. This is going to be a little boring, but I'm just going to read off, for those of you who are listening, what primaries you have to look out for and how they might relate to you. So coming up February 3rd, next week, we've got the Iowa caucuses coming up. Big one, of course, we all know the Iowa caucus is big. Followed by, on February 11th, the New Hampshire primaries, another big one. These are some of the big ones that, kind of set the stage for the rest of the primary season. February 22nd, people in Nevada. Whew! I hope you're ready. February 29th, South Carolina, another big one. And from what I understand, from what I've seen in the latest polls, I'm not hugely reliant on polls, but so far Bernie looks like he's doing pretty good in Iowa and New Hampshire. So that's it for February, everybody. March 3rd, big day. I think, that's Super Tuesday. Get ready. Alabama, America Samoa, Arkansas, California, Colorado. That's also the global Democrats abroad primary. So if you're voting from abroad, we also have one going on Super Tuesday. Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, good old Vermont, home of Bernie Sanders, and Virginia. March 10th, Idaho, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, Washington. March 12th, Virgin Islands. March 14th, Guam, North Mariana Territory, and Wyoming. March 17th, another big one, Arizona, Florida, that's for me, Illinois, Northern Mariana, Ohio. March 24th, America Samoa and Georgia. March 27th, North Dakota. March 29th, Puerto Rico. April 4th, Alaska, Hawaii, Louisiana, Wyoming. April 7th, Wisconsin. Another big one. April 28th, wow, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. May 2nd, Guam, Arkansas. May 5th, Indiana. May 12th, Nebraska, West Virginia. May 19th, Kentucky, Oregon. June 2nd, good old Washington, D.C., Montana, Big Sky Country, New Jersey, land of clerks, New Mexico, South Dakota, June 6th, Virgin Islands, and June 7th, Puerto Rico. July 13th through the 16th is going to be the Democratic Convention, so hopefully by then we are walking in Bernie bearing the torch. So that's it, everybody. I know that's probably a little bit bland part of the podcast, just listening to me read off a list, but I know if I was listening, that would have helped me a little bit, so I hope it helps some of you out there too. Doesn't mean you need to wait if you're voting on May 12th, if you're from Nebraska, Virginia, West Virginia. Doesn't mean you have to wait until April to get registered. Do it now. Like I said, do it right now. So that leads me to the next thing I wanted to cover here is how to get involved. So there are many ways to get involved, and I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes you're sitting at home wherever you might be it Asia, Europe, Africa, South America. A few of us might be down in Antarctica, Oceania, or any of the other 22 countries in North America. And you might feel distant, you might feel helpless. I know I do. I mean, that's a big reason why I started this platform. In the first place, I want to figure out how can I get active in politics, especially during election season. Well, luckily, technology has made this easier. So I think from what I've looked around, it seems to me phone banking might be the single most useful thing you can do from abroad. In my case, I'm going in for a round of phone banking tonight for Bernie. I signed up on the Bernie Sanders website, and all you got to do is you go on his website, you pick 2 time slots which you can phone bank, and then they send you a link through your email. You show up 15 minutes early before your shift. They give you a short video introduction. They give you all the material. All you need is a phone that can make calls in the U.S. Now, that might sound a little tricky if you're outside of the U.S. It might sound a little bit expensive. You might say, oh no, I'm not, I like Bernie, I donate, but I don't got that much money. But now, of course, technology, of course, has a solution for this. So some of us have subscriptions to calling services that give them a local number that they can use back in the States, like Skype, or in my case, I use good old Magic Jack. I don't even know, I might be the only person left in the world actually using Magic Jack. This was really big back in the early 2000s where you plug it into the wall. But now they have an app that you can use on our phone. It's actually really reliable and it's pretty cheap. It's about $50 a year. Unlimited calling to US and Canadian numbers and also to your number. So I actually have a local number that I can call from. And I use this for a lot of different reasons, just contacting family, contacting businesses, making really practically free calls throughout the year. So you can phone bank with one of these numbers, your Magic Jack number or your maybe your Skype number. If you have some other kind of numbers, please tell us about it. Leave it in the comments sections if you have any suggestions about this. Just make sure you're on a data plan or a Wi-Fi connection, and then everything should work out. Or maybe you have a US number, or maybe you have some other method. So yeah, just go to Bernie's website, sign up for some phone banking. They'll give you a link so you can share it with all your friends. So, hey, get the whole family, get all the friends, get all your friends abroad all together. Maybe we'll even arrange that at some point soon on the show here via the Progressives Abroad Facebook page or something like that. So, and I don't know, for me, it really helps to get the word out. It gives you, it doesn't just help the campaign, but it also gives you a good feeling to know that even though you're abroad, you can virtually be on the ground helping to get the right people into political office. I don't think a lot of people talk about it. But actually, for a lot of us out here, I know me included, me personally, it can bring a good bit of guilt and sometimes anxiety to be abroad during these times where you'd really like to contribute back home. Especially, it can get really frustrating sitting back and, watching the news or reading the papers and hearing how, especially in the mainstream media, how they take these issues and just kind of twist and turn them and propagandize them. For example, issues like healthcare or, free college and all these kinds of things, and how it looks in other countries. They really just bastardize these things. So phone banking is a really great way to be here, be there on the ground while staying in touch with real voters back in the States, rather than just hearing about what the general population thinks through polls and the news cycle. And who knows, you might even learn something. You can talk to a lot of people who you agree with and also people who disagree with you. You might have some really constructive conversations. Speaking of which, looking at the time, looking at the sun going down, and I need to stop recording and get ready for my phone banking. So I think I'm going to say goodbye for now, but as we're trying to hear from all of you out there, I want to hear more from the people out there, and eventually, like I said, I want to get some interviews going in the next couple weeks. I'd like to leave you all with a little assignment for this week. This week, do at least one action that you think will help us progressives win in the primaries. This could be as simple as registering to vote, requesting a ballot. You can do phone. They even do message banking now. You don't even have to, if you don't want to talk to people, you can just send messages. Maybe you can talk with your family or your friends back home, or maybe something else creative. Maybe you're doing some kind of public art project that is promoting, progressive values towards your people back home, or in some other way. I just really like to hear from you. We're pretty flexible here. Bernie is surging right now, but this is no time to sit back and rest on our laurels. Share us your stories of how you managed to stay politically active from abroad. And maybe we can talk about it in a future episode, maybe next episode. Don't forget, important links to everything we talked about today will be in the description below. And that's it from me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to give us a shout. Progressives Abroad, over and out. See you next time. Thanks for listening.